Chi creation, Enlightenment, part 2. So, we've got Ng Mai, the creator of Wing Chun. She was a nun of Shaolin, but not just a nun, she was one of the 5 elders of Shaolin as well, of the Southern Temple. And with Wing Chun, as with most things, it seems to come with its own drama or stories of enlightenment in a way. I mean, in the sense that it was created by a woman. So then when Yip Man were teaching it, as it was a secluded thing for a long time, and then, when he kind of repopulated it, anybody to be learning it, find out that it's created by a woman, and then, because it was like an age of ego prioritizes everything. You know what I mean? Especially in terms of men and all these kind of things and stuff like tough men as well, and all that kind of thing. So, it's like for one thing, for the student has to drop their ego. For other people, they have to drop their ego as well. It's kind of like, or it challenges their ego either. So, there's that aspect of nudging people towards enlightenment in a way, just by happenstance, because of its creator in that sense. But it also had drama in her time as well. It's like at the Southern Temple, they wanted, well, we're a Lao family, martial art. It used to be Bak Mei's martial art, or he invented it in first place and stuff. And that were taught at military, but then we were also like a change of dynasties. So I can't remember, moved from Ming or went to Ming, you know what I mean? It went from one to other one and stuff like. I don't know whether there's anything relevant to that change in the dynasty, like in terms of like the government and how we trust the government and all these kind of things. Because like Copernicus, he were already about before now in this chronology and stuff like. So it's like 500 years ago. This is 400 years ago. So, it's kind of like the globe were already implemented and all these kind of things and such like. So, so anyway, getting back to the story. The government were wanting Shaolin to teach the military this new style which Ng Mai had created. And they were saying it's still not finished. It needs perfecting and all these kind of things and stuff like. But they weren't willing to share it. I don't know if they were going to share it at all. You know what I mean? Because they're like, if it's going to be superior, you know what I mean. And that's what the government had heard. So they wanted it. Upon refusal, the government sent like about 30,000 troops on horseback. Loads of fire arrows at the temple, burnt it down, and then went on to slaughter and hunt down the remaining monks and stuff like. So, Ng Mai and whoever else kind of survived became fugitives. We know that Ji Shin, he was also one of the 5 elders, meant to be the leader out of the 5. He also survived and also contributed towards Wing Chun later. But so yeah, she survived in that sense and stuff like. Later, she, being in hiding, probably changed the name or whatever and such like that kind of thing. And she was like living in a province where a young girl called Yim Wing Chun, and it was supposed to be like a warlord which took his fancy towards her and declared that he was going to get married to her and all these kind of things, forced for marriage. I think Ng Mai kind of like could see that what she knew was superior in what he had to offer, It would probably have more just voice and intimidation. You know what I mean? And that's how it became a warlord rather than superiority through knowledge of martial arts and such. And so, like, I've seen it myself. I can see it on people. You know what I mean? How they move and compare it to like Wing Chun. It's like, yeah, Wing Chun are just, yeah, no problem. So I'd be able to teach like somebody who'll be quite fresh. You know what I mean? And not know Wing Chun or all that kind of thing, and give them a few days, and they might be able to you know, do what needs to be done and such. So Ung Moi has done that with Yin Wing Chun, um, and it worked. so Ung Moi, she named it after Wing Chun. Yim's a family name. Wing Chun means eternal springtime, which I kind of think that's kind of very relevant and an inspiration to like the series, like the origins of life and all these kind of things and such. It kind of reminds me of like the time when the giant trees were, you could imagine that were like an eternal springtime, or you've that essence of like that spiritual realm, you know what I mean, when you're connected to spirit, and it'll like, that complete sense of bliss and all that kind of stuff. There's that eternal springtime there as well in that way. Um, so there's a painting of Yin Wing Chun with a wooden dummy. So without Eng Moi, you wouldn't have had Yin Wing Chun, and you wouldn't have had Yip Man, and then you wouldn't have had Bruce Lee, and then you wouldn't have had MMA. And so when you look at it like that, it's like Eng Moi were the most influential martial artist that's ever lived. It's kind of like the expression in MMA to to throw away which is useless and keep which is useful, throw away which is useless, or however it's said. This is a Wing Chun expression. This is like the basis for Wing Chun. It was like a simplified version of what already existed in Kung Fu terms and such. So, many other like expressions like that Bruce Lee's are famous for and stuff. It's like, it's already existed in Wing Chun, like the way of the intercepting fists or such things and such. So there's Ung Moi teaching Yin Wing Chun in movies and such. I see his arm is at the top of his other arm. So his arm can't go through that arm, because the arm's there, it's in the way. And so in the same sense, her arm is covering it. And so that's like blocking his arm from coming up. So it's stopping both arms from coming up. And also her arm looks like it's holding that arm down, which it should be. So she's got both of his arms pinned while she's attacking in that kind of sense and stuff, like she's got a free shot. So it shows, like, how it's used and all these kind of things and such. Sun Tzu, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. And see, like the art of fighting without fighting, it brings a lot in terms of like, um, like, if you're ever engaged in an argument, but you've got this mindset, then the argument doesn't last long, or it's just quite obvious it's one person or one-sided in a sense. Or there's so many things like I don't know, anything, like opening a jar. All these kind of things and stuff, like I don't know what that is, but I liked that because it says 1626. That's like it's 2026 now, so it's like exactly 400-year old is that painting and such. Yep, man. A bit younger there. And most of his photos are like when he's, in late stages of cancer and all that kind of stuff, like, so we're not like, um, it's like these are anyway. I think that's like younger. That's younger. Same with Bruce Lee. Chi Sao. Someone called Mo Yat. But you can see size of them as well. Like there were a time when there were like 7 boxers, British boxers. He fought 7 in a row, each one. You know what I mean, and stuff like. And they were there to like embarrass the Chinese and all these kind of things and stuff like. So you know they were kind of dominating the fight scene. So you know, in terms of dominating, you know, probably quite cruel. You know what I mean, in many respects and stuff like. Until Ip Man came along, and despite his small size, because he's even smaller Chinese, you know, in terms of like you know, as you know, as well as I've been told as well. Martin Briley, I've met him and he's small compared to me, and I'm not really tall as such, but we're supposed to be like same size as Bruce Lee, you know what I mean? So you're comparing height that way and stuff. And it's like, you know, and that makes Bruce Lee sound small because that means he's smaller than me, you know what I mean, and things. But you know, there's a different thing about size. It's one of Yip Man's students, William Chung, using butterfly blades, knives. And that is Wang Chunlong. That was Yip Man's best fighter and is the guy that kind of taught Bruce Lee. He started under Yip Man, but there were issues with school. Other people didn't like him because they were too good at it, I suppose. And then an excuse of him being like half Chinese and all these kind of things and stuff like so. He separated him from class and allowed Wang Chunlong to take over his teachings, and still taught him. You know what I mean? But it was like he was his main teacher from then. But he's got like the history of fights and all these kind of things and stuff like rooftop fighting, all that kind of stuff. So that's that same guy. Same guy again. Wang Chunlong. I see another thing. It's like this is your common structure in which it fits in. It's like a needle and thread in a way, you know. So he's got that covered, but that's also going over there. So now that's trapping that arm and all these kind of things. You can turn that arm round and then hold onto them, and that'd free that other hand. And so, you know. So rather than Wing Chun being flashy, you know, it's thrown away what's not useful and try to become more direct and such. It's like Tai Chi, the Grand Ultimate. It takes 25 years to learn that, and then you spend the rest of your life perfecting what you've learned. Whereas Wing Chun, it's 6 years to learn everything, and then you spend the rest of your life anyway perfecting it. Like. So if you got like this family tree, you know, Eng Moi, Yin Wing Chun, that were her husband, and then because they had a school once they were together and all that kind of stuff. Lung Jan, that was Yip Man's teacher when he had that school, but when he died, Yip Man didn't have a teacher anymore, and then he discovered these previous students of that guy in the next town that he moved into and all that kind of stuff like, and then there were drama about you can't use a different teacher and all that kind of stuff, which is like, you know, that still happens today. So Ip Man and then his children, Ip Ching and Ip Chun, but this guy has gone through Ip Ching's line, so he's not got Ip Chun on there, all that kind of stuff like. And so like for me, I'd have my Ip Man, Ip Chun and Ip Ching, both of them, and then you'd have Martin Briley, and then you'd have Craig Lowry, and then me. So mine's kind of the same as that in that way. Obviously, Ip Man had students, which is a tree which follows his students, whether they become teachers, and then same for Ip Chun and Ip Ching, and then they'll have students, and then they'll have students. So you can see how the tree would get bigger in terms of, but how far it goes back, it's really small. Like I say, it didn't get popularized until Ip Man, became teacher of it and stuff like. That's another one, but it includes the five elders. So you got Jishin, how he kind of met that teacher, Yip Man's teacher, school teacher, when they were young. So he introduced the pole and furthered it on in that kind of sense and stuff. So that's Martin Briley. Martin Briley with Yip Chun. Oh, I showed him. So, back to Yip Man. He's got a few good quotes. One of his quotes is, "Simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication." And that has been quite an influence on my series. And so, like, looking through the series and all these kind of things and using that idea, you know what I mean, and employing that into your life, for everything, like that other thing that I said. And it extrapolates. It's gonna, like, use it as an answer to things, and because it's like, simplicity. That's how spirit works, and that's how the world works in a way. You know what I mean? It's the most simplest functionality of it and such. And, look at water. How it flows and everything. But go where energy flows. That's one of his things. It kind of exists in spiritual community anyway and stuff like. But in terms of Wing Chun, because that's how you do it when you're following your opponent, or all these kind of things and stuff like, and how to make it fluid, or how the movements go and stuff like. Is to just go where the energy flows. So that's how it kind of is and stuff like. And we all grow at different rates is another thing which it says, which is kind of like, set into movement and that kind of thing. And so, it's kind of like credit to where it came from. And I don't know whether it's actually Yip Man's quote or is it from his teachers. You know what I mean? Because then it could even be Eng Moi's, or it could have been even somebody else that taught Eng Moi, you know what I mean, and stuff like. So, it's all comes down from line in that kind of way. But yeah, so I thought a few more videos. So these were quite inspirational in terms of like me recovering and all these kind of things, and this being like the ultimate inspiration and stuff like that. And one, it's exciting, but also like to like practice and a physical aspect of things and stuff like that kind of thing. Yeah, I'll just let it play. So it froze for a second. But also another reason why to be showing this is gonna like before Truth Movement. If you were to come round to my house, this is what you were gonna get. Like, you know, video after video of different kung fu and all these kind of things and stuff like. Um, Just in half a years, you know what I mean? It's kind of like brilliant and stuff like. That's the only thing. It's like, you know, the truth movement kind of like it's kind of like, you know, this is important. It's the truth movement. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, you know, it's still part of it. I use kung fu with the truth movement. Um, and, you know, still train. You know what I mean? I'm still passionate about it and all that kind of stuff like. So, it's all good. But also another perspective, like, you know, like speaking about enlightenment and all these kind of things, and it's kind of like when the government's lied to you and they've convinced you and everybody else that, you know, what they want you to think reality is, then to be secluded from whatever that is, you know, like the globe and all that kind of stuff, and to be practicing kung fu, you know, that's where your focus is. Even, you know what I mean? That connection to spirit, you know what I mean? Despite the globe and all that kind of stuff, like, you know, not being invested in all the drama and the politics and the news, and because it's all psyops as well and stuff like that kind of thing, like, it's better, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's a genuine path to enlightenment, really. Um, is that like play again? There's a lot I could say on it and stuff like that kind of thing. I might make more videos. I kind of thought, you know, because of these like single episodes, it's kind of like we can introduce topics, and then, like, you know, as we go through the rest of the series, I can just, like, you know, drop in, you know, random episodes relating to them and stuff. I'll make new topics along the way as well. But yeah, I'll let it play. They're quite old one videos, like back 80s to 90s. I mean, I saw them like 2006 onwards or so. YouTube type of stuff like, um, but they were good back then. They're still good now, but I just kind of felt like an indifference in contrast and stuff like. You got this guy, he's thinking he's fast, and then he's got his somebody like his favorite who he plays afterwards. Um, so his favorite's kind of fast or whatever and stuff. Um, so I like the playthrough. That's the other guy. There we go. So that so that Kung Fu is no good in UFC, but if you remove the ring and you remove the rules, it might look differently, So, but yeah. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you. Bye.